We are almost as segregated today as we were 50 years ago.
I can't believe we're back in an age of banning books, but here we are here.
Black folk have been advertised tobacco products for decades. This ad is so old, the year is unknown.
As y'all have been learning, there's a really big connection between anti-Black racism and the ability to accumulate wealth.
Before 1965, Black people couldn't vote, y'all. That's not that long ago.
Like, these are all things that are done to Black people by white people. That matters because that's a question of justice.
White people, they're either just blatantly ignorant or they are blissfully ignorant. So I just feel that this country really fails to teach its true history.
How many know that the University of Maryland did not admit Black folks until the 1950s? Okay, that's a legacy we live with.
See, the fact that you all are in this class, purposefully deciding to take this class, and didn't know that these were MLK quotes. Think about how much else we actually don't know that's being hid from us because the knowledge oftentimes flows through books. And if you control information, oftentimes you can control people's minds. As Dr. Snyder was saying, we're super duper excited that you all are in this class. We're super excited about the people who have decided to minor in anti-Black racism. This will probably be the most unique classroom experience that you have ever had in your life, definitely at the University of Maryland. And there are some great classes, but what you get in this class is several professors across the university coming into this class. One of the arguments that people like to make is people like to say, oh, well, other groups were enslaved too, right? The Irish or other groups. No, they weren't, not exactly. What was supposed to happen is that in exchange for your voyage and your trip to the new Americas, to actually New England, you would have to work for 7 years as an indentured servant, very different from a slave. And then not only are you free, but you get 40 acres and a mule. That was what happened to some white people when they came over. For Black people, people in the new America started saying, wow, we're making a lot of profit off these folks. Is there a way to continue to get it for free? And then that's when we started having the transatlantic slave trade.
Who did what to who will tell us a lot about who owes what to who.
After slavery ended, had the chance to make a correction, 40 acres and a mule. What did it do? Widen the gap.
Anybody that was purchasing a home, you had to sign as part of your deed that you would never sell or lease to a Black person. They're only for whites. That was a legal document.
And like a lot of people I know assume that the reason why Kansas City is so segregated is because the Black people chose to be on the other side of the truce, which is the road that's was the red line was drawn on, but I don't think they understand that there's so much history of policy.
We have traditionally Black sororities and fraternities for a reason, and it was because they couldn't get into the other ones, right? That's how they started.
Scholars, diversity is not a negative thing. Even having different racial identities is not a negative thing. It's the negative attributes called racism that we associate. That's the issue.
We're gonna go in numerical order, except group 4 is gonna be last. So group 5, just know you're coming after 3, and try to keep within that 6-minute timeline that I provided. Radio stations had separate R&B stations. They had separate R&B charts. And it was a means to essentially segregate Black artists outside of the genres that they wanted to be a part of, such as pop, rock and roll, jazz, or soul.
And there's another case in Mississippi. Her name's Damian Campbell. She was a power lifter in a powerlifting competition. And in the middle of her lift, she had braids and had beads in it. And in the middle of her trying to complete her lift, they wouldn't let her move on to the next one until she agreed to cut all her beads out her hair.
Words like monster, freak, gifted to describe athletes when it comes to their physical traits rather than high IQ or just speak about their hard work that they'll talk about when it comes to certain white athletes.
Tina Turner was able to transition over to mainstream music because she was digestible for white people. So therefore, during this time period, she was able to be put on a higher pedestal and marketed towards the entire United States and the entire world.
One of the most important phenomena within the educational system is the school to prison pipeline, which is not talked about or addressed enough because it specifically targets Black students, as Black people are 5 times more likely to become incarcerated.
There's several people who had the experience of not being able to get a job because their hair is dreadlocked, or people have been told by their managers that they must cut their hair or their hair can't be in an afro because it's unprofessional.
And these topics were interesting and important. Obviously, there were a lot of overlap, which goes to show kind of where your interests lie. And that's really what this final project was about. It was about you all telling us a story. I personally just want to thank you all for taking this leap, right? This was a class that had never existed before, a minor that never existed before anywhere. And if you need anything or have any questions or concerns, I'm part of your network now, so please reach out to me, okay? So thank you all. Good luck. And